Welcome to the Business Park. Today with a special guest, Peter Záboji. He's the founder of European Entrepreneurship Foundation.
Correct.
But you have a really lot of experiences from also from corporations. You went through like Siemens, IBM. Why you decided to become an entrepreneur?
This is a very good question, and well, you have to think back when I started my professional career. It was all about corporations. It was about multinationals. It was really building the global networks, and I got very lucky after my beginnings at IBM Germany and an INSEAD MBA. I got an invitation by Siemens, by the future CEO, who was building a small team to go after the US market. And so I was very, very lucky and fortunate, and I had this great opportunity to learn from mistakes of early acquisitions. I inherited a dozen of smallish companies. In one instance, there was no strategy. Other instance, the management was poor. The third was a completely mistaken venture. And so I was like a little boy in a toy shop. And obviously, those 5 years laid the groundwork for my professional experience, my formation, as I call it.
And what was the moment? Like you said, I quit with the corporation. I will be entrepreneur. What your environment? What
as long well, now I can formulate it as I'm also teaching and preaching entrepreneurship. At a time when I decided to quit Siemens, and they were very upset because I was a high-ranking executive, and I couldn't explain why. It was just an urge. But now I can put it into words. As long as I could act as an intrapreneur. This is somebody who works for a large corporation but has the ability and the freedom to act. As long as I was this entrepreneur, I enjoyed it. And with progress, career, I came closer and closer to the higher levels. And while people were applauding as long as I was doing the dirty jobs downstairs, the conversation, the tone of conversation changed. And I then decided that really I've proved myself and I should venture, and so I quit.
And what was your first venture, or your
first venture? I joined forces with two younger friends of mine who came out of an entrepreneurial dynasty, and it was an entirely different business than what I did as a high-tech guy at Siemens. They designed plastic trays. The father was the inventor, by the way, for the plastic beer tray. You know, today you don't remember, but in generations ago, beer bottles were transported in wooden crates, and they were falling apart after 6 transports. And this father of my friends designed the first plastic crate, which would, have
in Czech Republic, it's really popular.
Yes, I know. And these guys added another invention. They came up with a foldable plastic tray which was used for the transportation of fruit and vegetable. Very few people know that apples come from Argentina, grapes come from South Africa, orangeines come from the south of Spain. It's a huge traffic. And the innovation of these trays was that they were rented, cleaned, recycled, and they could be folded. So the volume was cut, and we were going against the cardboard industry, which was the green revolution in the early 90s. And these guys designed the products and invited me to market the stuff globally. And I reached out and set up a joint venture with Mitsubishi in Japan, another partner in the US. In England, I did it myself, where I felt at home, and South Africa. And so this became, by now, this is a world standard of transportation called IFCO, International Food Containers. However, 3 years into this business, I discovered that the values and the ethical attitudes of my partners and mine were very different. So I had to decide and move on. And then I joined the largest communications startup in Germany called Otello, which was the deregulation, when new competitors were invited to compete with the established state monopoly, the old post office. And I was part of this movement for a while, and then I moved on again and set up another company called European Telco Exchange, trading capacities, up until the luck struck again, and KKR, the masters of the universe and the management buyout, people decided to come to Europe. And then I got invited to help them and join them, and they made a major acquisition called Bosch Telecom with about 10,000 people, and I was the guy with the 007 license, CEO.
Great.
It was a huge turnaround, a reorientation, and a success story, and this is when I retired from operations.
So now you just the purpose of European Entrepreneurship Foundation is like education, and you educate people, and you came back to your home country.
I started as an educator, as a professor at INSEAD, which was a leader in promoting entrepreneurship, but I came to the conclusion that entrepreneurship is not about education. Entrepreneurship is about inspiring people, about inviting them to dare to do their things. And so I left the academic world and started designing programs of my own, always working with proven, successful entrepreneurs.
Showing the role models.
Absolutely. This is the key word, Michael. This is why entrepreneurship will never succeed at universities and in academia. It is about real people, real life stories, and each and everyone is so different. And entrepreneurs, by the way, talk about their mistakes. They don't brag like CEOs of large companies, how good I am, how fantastic I am. And this makes them very human.
And what do you talking about the mistakes? What do you think are the biggest mistakes nowadays? The entrepreneurs, starting entrepreneurs.
As many entrepreneurs, as many mistakes. It is a lifestyle. It's an attitude. It's enjoying what you do, not being confined to certain rules, regulations, the red taping of corporations. And the funny thing is that it's mushrooming. In former days, people thought that all entrepreneurs are born in Silicon Valley. Today we know no. We need the role models, as you said, and we need the environment, and another prerequisite is, of course, venture capital money. And against the common belief, investment money is abundantly available, also in Central and Eastern Europe. And the funny thing is that almost more money is chasing too few deals. So I, with my little foundation, are focusing on promoting the creation, helping the startups, having the orientation to reach beyond borders. Borders are
in our minds.
Only our minds, dating to horrible histories of ours in the region, and just forget it. The market is open, and also before our eyes, we have seen, like in a short film, the success stories of Apple, of Google, of Facebook, and this is different to former generations. Daimler-Benz, it took him 30 years to build a company, or Mr. Siemens. And here we know that with the right team and the right attitude, this can be done in months.
It's great. And you brought this beautiful movie, Something Ventured, to Prague. That's really awesome. Is it possible, will there be any possibility for people to see again this movie, or for someone, if they want?
We came across this movie some time ago and contacted the producers immediately. The movie is about how Silicon Valley was born, and very few people do remember that it's a very recent story. I mean, we speak about 50 years, but actually it was the last 20 years which was the boom. The terms, we have now language to speak about startups, how venture capital is all about. IPOs, exits, multiples, And we started showing the movie in Budapest, and we're eager to get it to Prague. We have an invitation to go to Berlin now and to Bratislava. So we are promoting it, and we are in constant discussions how to show it more often, because it's an eye-opening.
Mm.
It's an encouragement, as you say,
Yeah.
to your generation.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. So what's your next stop?
I was just in the car with my two partners. I was thinking out loud and designing the program for the spring and the first half of 2012. You have been very successful in organizing the Seed Camp in Prague.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to launch the next one in Budapest.
Mm-hmm.
We are launching a speaker series, inviting these serial entrepreneurs from Berlin, London, Frisco.
Mm-hmm.
Our guest speaker half an hour ago just came in last night from Frisco.
Yeah. Crazy.
Isn't that fantastic?
Yeah.
But this is
How
the
the
beauty
world is small.
of this is the beauty of our programs. We do not pay these guys. We tell them to, and successful entrepreneurs are eager to chip in to give back.
Mm.
And this is what corporate people do not do, and this is what the smart people who created fortunes in these regions of the last 20 years don't feel committed to.
Mm.
But this is a very open and very productive and fantastic community, which is becoming global. So we have partnered with Credo Ventures last summer. We have started talking about joint programs again, because I think we have to help our youngsters in the CEE region to see it as one market.
Mm-hmm.
And even though we have differences in language, we should not have differences in thinking and orientation.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
our program this year will be much more cross-border.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And I like really the idea you talk in your presentation about the privatization, this era, like the people were just lucky, not entrepreneurs. They summed a huge amounts of money, and they are not willing to give back anything. And you think it's changing right now, like the new generation?
I think it's the next generation. It's the real people.
Mm-hmm.
It's. I mean, we youngsters,
yeah,
you and I, we have the advantage of outliving these animals, and they will be replaced over time, and their heirs will not be as successful. This is also proven that people with large fortunes have a hard time to enable the next generation. So I think we will have more free market conditions, and obviously a fantastic string of successful operations. Andre from Credo Ventures listed the great names which were created out of Budapest, with Logomine, with Index Tools, with Prezi, and many others. And I think we will have to promote the success stories. Success breeds success, and we have to give more publicity to entrepreneurship and to the goods what venture capital, business angels, and startups do. And by the way, these are the companies which create jobs.
Yeah, that's true. But I think a small problem with these global projects like Prezi and LogMeIn is that here in Prague, people were sitting next to me were surprised, like, Prezi, it's from Hungary, what? Like,
I've been working with the press for 3 years now, and came to the realization that our story is so complex. I mean, you and I, we understand each other, we communicate, but to people living in the old world, this is Chinese. And I never found press people who were able to sit down and write it. So I decided to publish. And what I do is I write all these things in English, because then it is accessible by our neighbors. So on our homepage of the Entrepreneurship Foundation, we have 6 bloggers now. We produce content every day, and it is a platform which really brings the like-minded people together, regardless of age and orientation. We need more public awareness of because this is the future.
Yeah,
and it is here. It has begun.
Okay, thank you very much for the interview.
Michael, thank you for having me.
Bye-bye.